I'm easily distracted, so if you don't mind turning off your cell phones at this point, say anything that makes a noise. We do welcome you here to our public workshop on Highway 331 Bridge Park. I would like to introduce to you the people around this table, just in case you don't know who some of us are. We have Mr. Larry Jones, our county administrator. We have Mr. Mark Davis, our county attorney. We have Commissioner Bill Linville, Commissioner Bill Chapman. Myself, I'm Sarah Commander. We have Commissioner Cecilia Jones and Commissioner Cindy Meadows. And we all welcome you here tonight for this discussion. We are live streaming this, so everybody can sit up straight, because we're all going to be on YouTube. All right. Now the purpose of this meeting tonight is to talk about the Highway 331 Bridge Park and the excess money or funds that we will have left over once the bridge is done, and we have some basic plans for that part, but we are going to have some excess funds that we will be able to use. And at this time, I will turn the meeting over to Mr. Jay Tusa. He is our new TDC director, and he's doing an outstanding job for us so far.
Well, thank you, guys. I appreciate that, commissioners. Good afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming. This is a nice turnout. We really appreciate you coming today. We're waiting on Cliff Nauer with Pebble Ridge to come. He's going to actually do a presentation on all the ins and outs of what's at the park, but I can kind of go over some stuff and get the meeting started. We want to run on time. So anyway, he should be here probably the next 5 or 10 minutes. So anyway, like Commissioner Commander mentioned, we are here to discuss the 331 Bridge Park, both south of the bay and north of the bay. We have some additional funds out of the bridge project, about $6 million, that we're looking to see if we can make some improvements to the bridge park and kind of how it exists now, and then see if there's anything that we can do on the north end of the bridge as well. North end of the bridge is kind of a little iffy right now with an Attorney General's opinion that we got, so we're still trying to explore our options there, but it's still a good opportunity for us to kind of solicit that input from the public and kind of see what you like, so that way we're ready to move forward when we get approval on that. So anyway, I don't have a handout for the, can I hold this for a second?
Okay. And while you're doing that, please excuse my bad manners. I failed to also welcome to the meeting this afternoon. We have Councilwoman Janice McLean from the City of Freeport, and we have Councilwoman Casey Cutchins also from the City of Freeport. And we're so glad to have you with us. And this is a good turnout. I will say much better than the one we held last week. So, very good. But ladies, we welcome you. And I don't know whether y'all know this or not, but the women are beginning to take over the world.
Anyway, so we have a few handouts here. I hope everybody got a copy. We made copies for everybody. I didn't get a copy, so I was kind of borrowing this for a few minutes. So anyway, at the bridge park right now, what is there? There is a boat launch that is capable of handling 4 boats at once. And then we also have a pier, a fishing pier. Here comes Cliff, so I'm going to let him talk about that as I'll let him set up, so I'm going to talk a little bit more. There are pavilions at the park, parking spots, and then a few of the things that we talked about at the last meeting, just to kind of let you know kind of some of the things we were discussing, just some different aspects of maybe electricity at the end of the pier, water, cleaning fish stations, those type of things. We talked about a kayak, canoeing boat launch in addition to the ones that handle larger boats. We handle possibly a children's park. So, as mom and dad, everybody's kind of coming in and out, maybe a place for the kids to play. We talked about maybe a beach area. There might be some issues there with whether or not we can do that, but at least, explore those options. And then, what else were some of the other things? Wi-Fi was another thing, electricity, picnic tables, the spigots. And then one thing, and I've kind of had some conversations with different people, and this is kind of some out there thinking, but kind of one of the things that came up was, what about maybe cabins there? Somebody, if they're going to fish, maybe have 4 or 5 cabins, and people can stay there for a nominal fee. So those are kind of some of the ideas that we're trying to think of here about what we can do. you know, not so much, obviously the smaller things are important too, but we have a lot of money that we can possibly use to, you know, build this park up. So I think if we can kind of think of some ideas, have an open dialogue here today, that would be great. And then we'll talk a little bit about the landscaping at the tail end of the conversation, and then also what we can do on the north end. A couple things that we talked about at the last meeting was purchase property both on the northeast and northwest ends of the bridge. There's some sandy area maybe where kids can play, and then from my understanding, there's like a little marina area over on the west side, so maybe exploring options for that. So we can talk about that a little bit more, you know, as we get into it. You ready, Cliff? You want to kind of take it over? Okay. This is Cliff Dower. He's with Colonel Rich, and he's going to just kind of give you the real specifics on the park right now, where it stands.
Thanks, Joe. Good morning. Cliff Maurer, Corporation Engineers. About 2 years ago, I was hired by Parsons Brinkerhoff. They were the winning team with Skamsco to do the new bridge. And so our responsibility was the utilities, the park design, and all the surveying on the project. And so I've kind of been involved. I have been involved and have designed the park since the project started. And so I've got a lot of knowledge on what's being proposed, what's going to be built now, and kind of know the ins and outs of it pretty good. And so I'd like to take the opportunity to walk through the different components of the design, show you guys what we have that is currently going to be constructed. I know the purpose of the meeting today is to get public input on things that you guys would like to see maybe added to the park project. And as Jay mentioned, there's a number of items that were brought up during the meeting last week with the Board of County Commissioners at the annex on things that the public and the commissioners wanted to see about possibly adding to the project. And so I'll just kind of walk you through what we're proposing. This right here is the entrance road to the park. Unfortunately, the only way to fit the park in at the location that it's at is if you're coming from Freeport, you got to go to Chat Holly and make a U-turn. When you make a U-turn at Chat Holly, you'll come in this right-hand lane, which will bring you into the park. The first parking that you see, this is the new bridge. So this is the pilings for the new bridge right here. And so the park is underneath that bridge. And then, of course, this is the existing bridge on this side. And so the first thing you'll see is on your left-hand side, there's a group of 60-degree parking spaces. And then another group of 60-degree parking spaces. And then on the next slide, I'll show you where we start getting the rest of it. Okay. All these smaller spaces that you see are just regular vehicular spaces. These big long spaces are boat and trailer spaces. Those are about 50 feet long. We sized the boat and trailer spaces and the circulation for a 26-foot trailer with a full-size truck like an F250, so that people with some bigger type boats would be able to get in and out. There's currently 17 boat and trailer spaces, and there's 72 normal vehicular spaces. This is a sidewalk on the the east side, that turns into a boardwalk when you get down here. The boardwalk ties into the boat ramps. There's 4 ramps, as you can see right here, 1, 2, 3, 4. They've got an L shape on the end of them, and they're all concrete with timber walkways in between. Those walkways are all 6 feet wide, except for the center one is 8 feet wide. Over here, we have a new restroom going in. It's a full-size restroom in the same style that the TDC is currently doing all their new restrooms. We also have some pavilions. It's a 20 by 20 pavilion here and a 20 by 20 pavilion there. Our handicap parking is near the restrooms, and this right here is a boardwalk that goes to the new fishing pier. The fishing pier is 400 foot long, 15 foot wide concrete fishing pier. They're driving the piles for that right now. In about the middle of the pier is a 20 by 20 foot pavilion sitting on top of the pier so that you can get out of the sun if you need to. What you'll see when you're standing down there is you'll see basically rock riprap around pretty much the perimeter of the whole point, which is kind of what's down there right now. There's a small stormwater pond in the center of the parking area. It's should be dry most of the time, but it's something that we did as kind of a concession to DEP. There was no treatment before we started the project, and so we're providing this as some additional water quality treatment before it discharges to the bay. There's lights throughout the park. You see these lights right here. We have them set up through the entire park, so at night the whole place will be lit up very well. We're also putting in some landscaping, and I'll show you the landscape sheets that we're doing as well. So this is the rest of the pier, and that's the gazebo that sits on top of it. This is the old bridge right here. I'm sorry. Yeah, that is actually the new bridge. The old bridge is here. New bridge is there. The fishing pier is just to the east of it. That's some details on the boat ramps that we're putting in. We're using push slabs. We're actually putting lighting on the end of the dock also, on the end of the piers. So there's going to be a light here and a light there. So if you're loading or unloading the boat at night, you'll be able to see real well what you're trying to do. Pavilions here and here. This is some cross sections that you probably don't care about. Some signage. Here's the landscaping sheets for showing what kind of landscaping we're doing. There's a little bit of sod, but mostly everything is going to be small shrubs and pine straw. There's going to be a small amount of sod. The landscaping was pretty difficult because, as you know, everything's going to be shaded, and everything has to be drought tolerant, or salt tolerant. We do have irrigation run through the entire facility, so there's some sable palms that we're planting, and a lot of more natural vegetation that does well in the salt. That's kind of the layout of the planting. And then the well and all that kind of stuff will be up here in the corner. So I'll be happy to answer any kind of questions that you guys have. Try to direct you where anything might need to be directed. Yes, sir.
They are separated into 4 different ramps.
Yes, sir. Yeah, there's 4 separate ramps. They're very long. The end of the ramps should be about a little over 4 feet deep, maybe 4.5 feet deep at the end of the ramps. And so we try to set them up so that in the wintertime, when you have real low tides, you can still launch and get your boat out. By far, they are much, much better than any of the ramps that were on the 331 that have been tore out as part of the project. They're deeper and wider, and should be very user-friendly.
Do we have any plans for a message board? I got an email from Chief Talbert asking that we have some kind of message board for evacuation, safety messages, wreck ahead. Do we have any plans for that? I know you said signage, but that's differently message board.
A message board in the park itself?
On the, no, bridge, I'm sorry, on the bridge. I'm sorry.
Okay. They don't have one
The
planned that I know of right now. That's something that probably could be added pretty easily. Really, at either end of the bridge, they could probably do that pretty easily. Cost-wise, I'm not sure. They may have to span all the way across to support it, but certainly that's something that can be added.
Let me ask the question, I'll let you call.
Yep. There's one hydrant, directly at the end of the boat ramp.
Yes, ma'am.
I had a question about a U-turn at Chat Holly. You have Chat Holly, and then you have the entrance to a building on the west side, and then you have the bay coming out on the east side. Are you gonna be able to make a U-turn at that intersection, or are you gonna need to go down and do one yet?
Yeah, Parsons Brinkerhoff designed the roadway itself, but they used auto turn and used the same boat and trailer combination that I used. And that intersection does not have a problem with boat and trailers.
Okay, so you would just be turning and then going into another lane over on
Well,
the
you,
side?
yeah, you'd be headed southbound, you get in the turn lane, and you make a U-turn and come out in the northbound lane headed north.
Okay, but then you would take the side?
Yeah, you would veer to the right.
Okay.
If you veer to the right, you go into the park access. If you keep going straight, you go to the bridge.
Yeah.
But
I'm
there's,
just thinking about the different movements going on
Yeah.
there, how it's gonna all work.
yeah, It's a pretty long distance
Is it?
from the intersection to where you would have to veer right to get into the park. It's a pretty long distance, yeah.
Okay.
So it's not, you won't have to make a super fast decision or anything. It's a very long distance.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Will there be a fish cleaning station with running water?
We do not currently have a fish cleaning station set up. That's one of the things that was brought up at the board, at the meeting at the annex last week, was maybe adding a fish cleaning station. It would actually be pretty easy to do. I know FWC now requires on fish cleaning stations a big grinder, to be able to grind up all the parts and pieces before they could go back, anywhere. And so, while a fish cleaning station starts off sounding pretty cheap and easy, we did one at the St. Joe Marina. It was about 15 grand
Wow.
by the time we were doing it.
But they work.
Yeah,
I believe it.
yeah, you use that one over there. Yep.
Bit too easy, just like the fish.
Yes, sir, the gentleman in the back.
Coming from the north side and you turn into the bay, right now that turn lane, it's almost like a 45-degree angle. Are you gonna reconfigure that? Because it's also short, so trucks with a trailer is gonna be pretty long. So one turning, trailer with a boat would stop all traffic coming from northbound. Is it gonna reconfigure to have a longer turn lane to do that U-turn?
Yeah, I think when the final striping is done, the right turn lane will be much longer than what's there right now. They have their MOT kind of set up. It's not really centered up the way it's going to be when we're done with it.
That, and when a trailer makes that U-turn, all northbound traffic will be stopped at the light. They will,
Okay.
yeah, it'll be a protected left turn.
Oh, well, okay.
Yeah.
I meant I meant southbound, because it's like right now, if you turn the way that when, into Bay Restaurant, your trailer will be sticking out, blocking the lane behind you.
Yeah, the intersection where the Bay Restaurant is getting reworked quite a bit as part of the final striping plan for the project. The turn lanes actually are shifting from where they are right now.
Ms. James.
When you leave the park, you will have to make a right turn, right, and go across the bridge, or?
Yeah, when you leave the park, you're going to be leaving on this road right here, which is the exit ramp. And as you head this way, you're going to basically be merging into southbound traffic. And so you'll merge into southbound traffic, and if you want to go to Freeport, you will make a U-turn at Chat Holly and go north. Yep. And we actually made a lot of, we argued quite a bit about trying to make it to where that wasn't the only way in and out, and there was no way to make it happen. No safe way to make it happen. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there anything proposed at this time for north of the bridge?
Right now, there's not. There was lots of discussion during the meeting that we had last week with the board about trying to do something on the north end. But right now, there's no planned park north on the north end of the bridge.
Cliff, if you will, I think Larry has some additional news for us that we just learned on the way down here.
Yeah, the critical component of doing something on the north end is to tie it to the bridge or the approaches to the bridge, based on our legal and bond counsel that put the whole project together initially and the things that the citizens voted on. So we're in the very early stages of pulling that together. That will give us the opportunity to do some things there. Property acquisition, improvements to that property. But we made a pretty large step, as the chairman said, all the way down here this afternoon when our attorney called and said there's quite probably a way to work all that into the project so that we stay within the confines of the referendum language and the statute which require us to do certain things in order to utilize the funds. So while we don't have a plan or a definitive answer of what can be done, we've had that contact and we're in contact with some of the property owners that one we know that's willing to sell and some others that may be willing to sell. And then on the opposite side, on the east side, we're asking for an appraisal on the triangular piece that the board gave us direction at the last board meeting. So we have made some progress. And along those lines, there was discussion at the last meeting about doing landscaping on the northern approach. We've got some direction there that we think is good as well. We've got to fine tune it and work some things through the board to get some action. But we believe we're steps several steps ahead of where we were even last week, and getting the ability to loosen things up.
Ms. Casey?
So before you would make a final decision on the expenditure of the $6 million, you'll know about the north side, and that would be incorporated, if you're able to do something, some of that money would be spent on the north side as well?
Potentially, it's something
Potentially.
that
Okay.
the board, and the key is to be sure that we stay within the parameters that were set forth from the beginning. I mean, this money was collected for a specific reason, and the board has to utilize it for that specific reason, and primarily to make improvements to the bridge or the approaches to the bridge.
Yeah, we're trying to find a massage room in there. Put it that way.
Question on what they were saying, did that overcome what the first gentleman you mentioned, an issue with Attorney General's opinion? Does this overcome what his concern on that?
And I prefer to Mr. Davis, but I would say it's the first step of overcoming it.
The short answer is probably yes.
That's good.
Yeah.
It is, and we're pretty encouraged by bond council.
Because I'm sure everybody in this room, including me, I've been here since 1960 something. Remember playing in that bay, remember taking our children down there. That was a safe place for us, for our children to play in the bay. And I certainly, for one, if it's any way possible, and I'm sure if everybody at this table wants to keep that tradition going. I did get Mr. Chapman.
Cliff, question. Last time I talked with the project engineer with Skansa, there was not supposed to be a guardrail on the west side, starting at the Bayfield, going all the way down, right where the old park used to be. And I know they're doing some alignment in there of that portion of the road bed. You know, or can you find out if there's gonna be enough room there for those people that wish to pull off the road and go mullet fishing? Still have enough room between the roadway and the water's edge so they can get out and mullet fish without being an obstruction like a guardrail there.
I can certainly check with them and see. I know that the center of the road has a guardrail between the lanes right there. And at one time, there was guardrail proposed on the west side. I don't know if something has changed with that, but I'll be happy to look into it and see what I can find out.
Well, the last time I talked with them, they showed me the cross section for that part of the road bed, and it didn't show it there, and I just don't know if that's changed in the last
Yeah.
8 or 9 months.
I'll do some homework on that. This gentleman on the end had a question.
No, you answered my question. I just wanted to say though that they've done a great job on that bridge. They really have, at the speed they want, everything, and it's truly coming out to be very, very nice. And I'm thankful for it. But as Sarah said, that, on our side, make sure people can still get in there to camp and to fish, just make sure it doesn't get blocked off, because that truly would be a shame.
The only beach area.
Yeah, so beach area they have.
Like children to swim and people come up in there, skiers and stuff. People out there.
You ready? Yeah, yes, sir.
I wasn't at any prior meetings, I just had a general question. Currently during hurricanes, I think the limit is 35 miles an hour, and then they'll cut off from South Walton, 45. Will this new bridge give us any extended window to evacuate as far as minutes and time?
But we won't be the second slowest evacuation.
Yeah.
That's right.
And Madam Chair, if I may, and the reason is it's the wind. It's not the bridge itself. It's the height of the automobiles crossing and then the wind hitting those.
I noticed the new one is a lot longer, and I figured water would be flowing on the roadway where maybe we got some more time.
But they're both about, if you notice, they're both about the same height at their highest, which is interesting. The new one takes longer to get there, but they're both about the same height, but it is the wind.
Okay.
That requirement has a lot to do with semis and large box trucks and things like that that are prone to tip over during heavy winds, because they have so much surface area.
I moved to Freeport, but I still got an 82-year-old mother in South Walton that I don't even go back for it, or something like that over.
Jody, did you want,
Somebody else,
is there anyone else? Kevin?
Kevin Chilcott, I don't know if they're in the record, but, so I've been following this from the FDOT's concept of their park and their use under the bridge and stuff to what y'all were doing, looking at expanding those funds. I'll just give you, because y'all know what I do, I get a lot of public input like you do. And I will tell you that the people I've talked to, the Bayfield Beach area, and there's always been questions about that, but the people in this county have taken ownership of that, like Cecilia said, for years, or no, it was you was talking about family going for years. And I will tell you that this whole thing, I really think y'all have a potential gem, a jewel to enter into our beach area, and I just hope y'all do exactly what you're doing. I applaud you and continue doing that. You're on the right path, but I encourage you to think a little bit bigger even about future and stuff. This whole area and that whole bridge area, I think we can wow people when they come out of the Freeport, they hit Freeport and see the beauty there, and then see the beauty in the bay, and then when they get across the bay. But I think y'all have a chance to really do something special that will be special for the residents as well as our visitors.
Thank you.
I'll make one more comment,
Yes, sir.
because I know we have to share this with some of you. We had a conversation Friday with folks at DOT in Chipley, and while they're very supportive of a number of the projects we're talking about, they were very clear that they're not interested in doing anything that would either A, slow Skanska down their completion, or give them reason to ask for additional time. So, and I would say that is that while we can certainly begin planning a number of these things, it's probably going to be close to this time next year before we can actually begin implementing them. Simply, if we get to the point where we can acquire property, we can certainly move forward with that. But they were very clear that while they are very pleased with Skanska's quality of work, they're not so happy with their timing. And so they were very concerned about burdening them with any additional responsibilities that would give them change orders that would give them cause to ask for additional time.
Well, didn't we discuss at the meeting we had last week that probably a lot of this would be done once they're through anyway? That we would hire contractors and we would do most of this work ourselves. So we wouldn't impede them in any way, but I don't know why I mean, to me, Skanska's done a good job on getting that bridge a lot faster than I thought they would, so I'm pleased with it. Yes, ma'am.
Regarding the new park that's going in, as an avid paddler, I did a little poll with some of my readers and asked them if they would use a park, a boat ramp in mid-bay, or close to the middle of the day, or would prefer to launch from the shoreline. And everyone said shoreline. I don't paddle the middle of the day, only because the winds pick up in the afternoon and it's just open water. I would say probably 90% of kayakers, canoers, and stand-up paddlers prefer to paddle along the shorelines. And for that reason, and many more, I urge you to consider the Bayfield area, not only for the historic reasons, but how many bays open to the public where they can recreate on the bay? I only know of 3. You know, there's boat ramps in several areas, and this is a golden opportunity that I hope that you take it, because it might be just a one-time thing in our generation.
Okay, I fully agree with you on that. And that's why we have been trying to work with DOT. They own the land, so we've got to try and make things happen by working with them. And I know from talking to Tommy Barfield, the district secretary, that he is all about helping the county out to accomplish these things. It's just gonna take time, and we've gotta work around their regulations and everything else to make this thing happen. But I totally agree, we need to try and open that Bayfield up. It's been there as long as I've been in the county.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot more people in here grew up here.
Mm-hmm.
So they know what it is, and we understand the importance of it, and we're working with them to try and make this happen.
That's great. Also, I wouldn't alter the existing plans of the park that's going in for kayakers, stand-up paddleboards, and canoeing. They can use the boat ramp if they do choose to decide to paddle in the open
That was
water.
one of the recommendations that came out last week, is that we put in a facility somewhere near the ramp where
I don't
it's
think it's
at,
necessary.
and just put some kayak or do.
I mean, they could use the boat ramp just like the boat.
Yeah, but Cliff's got this apparatus that you hang on to where you stabilize yourself before you get out there, and it makes it a little bit easier to get on there and keep moving. But once you launch right there, you're basically at the shoreline anyway.
And we were concerned too that there might be a lot of boats coming and going and paddleboards and kayaks and stuff like that. Yet it could be a bit crowded there. There's no telling. But my question to Larry is, where is that $6 million right now?
It's in the bank, bearing interest, I mean, we got it.
We do?
Yes, ma'am.
So it's in our account and
Yes,
it is bearing interest.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So by next year, there should be a little bit more in there, right?
Sure.
Not probably much, but, okay, thanks.
Yes, sir.
I also understood that we might be able to give some ideas, you know, for here. I was a collegiate sailor of dinghies and skiffs and everything, but it looks like a fantastic facility for regattas and things along those lines. As we see in South Walton, the combination runs, paddle boards, competitions, and the Bay Restaurant just hosted one, and the traffic was terrible. And as I think about it, I don't think any facilities need to be expanded, but it might be a great opportunity for the TDC to jump on as being this, as one of the locations of, you know, maybe a swim or a triathlon, or gets some of, in the traveling, you know, sailboat racing, because not all of it's open shore, but I know in my youth, I enjoyed playing in the bay, the sailing and the shifting winds. It offers a great opportunity for those type of folks, and if we can market it right, we can bring in some from people that share the same interest of, you know, some of my friends are on the America's Cup team right now, and they grew up in Mississippi where all the shifting winds were. And it might be great for our youth to get them to learn sailing and everything. And so, as a great additional multi-use for this facility, I think, we think about hosting regattas.
Very good idea. Sounds wonderful. Ms. Janice, you want to ask?
Yes, going north, the white beach sand on the left, that's everybody's used for a beach, that whole area, and you know there's a canal back in there, that would make a wonderful recreation area. Kayakers could get just push right out there in that shallow water. I don't know how many acres there is there, but I've always thought that'd make the best park in the world.
Well, the parcel that's right next to 331, it's 2.14 acres. And of course, it's hard to tell from their map exactly where it hit in relationship to the marina type area in there. But that's the first parcel I think we need to look at, and then see if we can get these additional parcels.
Just a little information, there you're talking about where the boat slips off, that's the second parcel in. And it's the same owner that owns the parcel, next to 331. And we've made contact with that individual, supposed to have some more conversation the next couple of days about the possibility of acquiring.
Is that one on the east or the west?
It's on the west
Okay,
side.
that's fine.
But we're also looking on the east side.
Yes, ma'am.
Where the little fish, little house is, that would make a nice little kayak, paddle boat launch there as well.
Ms. Casey?
I just thought that I would let y'all know that one of the things that the city of Freeport is doing right now, we have applied for a grant for a master recreation plan, and a big component of what we're doing is trying to figure out a way to use our waterfront in order to provide more activity. So we actually are in the process of looking at a waterfront park. We're trying to get the land back from the Department of Interior that we had years ago, and we're going to be looking at putting kayak and canoe launches along the water through Freeport. So if there was a way that we were connecting the part that y'all are developing to what the city's going to do, it would just give, you know, it's gonna give an added component to what all these people that love to get out on their paddleboats or their canoes or whatever they wanna do, they can tie in and use some of the locations in Freeport also. We put this engineer for the city of Freeport, so he's aware of what we're doing. So maybe, that's why I appreciate this meeting, because I see your recreation plan tying to what we're trying to do for Freeport as well. So thank you for putting forth all this effort and making sure that everybody gets a say-so in what happens.
We can get on the same page with water and sewer, where we'll be walking.
Absolutely.
Is there anyone anyone else that would like to ask a question, either of the commissioners or, Cliff, Nauer, or Jay? Do you, anyone else have any suggestions? Jamie,
Midnight else, then we'll hit that. I wanna-
your hand's up at the moment, go ahead.
Okay, my understanding, the county would be the designer of this park, not the state. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Based on the meeting last week and this week, you got a lot of information, a lot of the same information for both meetings. When could you start, when can you do a rendering of concepts that have been presented to you to a starting point of a park, and how long can it be, where it could be 500 feet down the Bayfield, or 1,000 feet down the Bayfield, or whatever? Can you do something like that?
JB, as far as up there, what I call Cracker Beach, which is that sandy area, if we're able to purchase that, then I think that would probably be the first thing we'd have to do, is make sure that we can purchase this, or know where it is, so we know the boundaries, and we know how to delineate whatever may be done. Now, as far as that between, start at the Bayfield going on south, that's gonna be up to whatever DOT,
Whatever they can have.
because they own the land, I think DEP also owns some of that land too.
We have traditionally with decades down to the little bridge there, and in between the two bridges, people that fish and crab on both sides of the field. Even back when we had Chris up timber boat yet there. Of course, now you got the riprap, but it's a little bit dangerous to climb down that riprap, and let people do it to fish. So when you think about a fishing area along there, you may want to think of some kind of a link fee, even though it will get torn up with a hurricane or whatever, some kind of link fee, wooden walkway or something down the riprap in certain areas, maybe 2 or 3 of them, that people can actually get out and fish safely. So you can't do it, people do it, in fact, out there.
Isn't that part of the proposal on the southeast part?
Yeah, this boardwalk right here is at the outside edge of the riprap, all the way down, and it's got 3 10x10, basically fishing platforms on it. And so you could park and walk out here, you'll be at the outside edge of the riprap, all the way across this and on each one of those.
They do it there, maybe we do it on the south side, I mean, the north side.
And I think, remember the suggestions that came up last time with regards to the extending of the electricity, extending of Wi-Fi, extending of water, probably in relationship with the 6 million is not very much, but is very doable once the park is finished by the state and we can take it over. I think that many of the big plans that would be more expensive would be if we can get the parcels on the north side, and if we can use them to design a number of the functions, whether it's marinas, whether it's boat launches, whether it's fishing areas, and I think that will come once we find out specifically what we can do in getting those parcels.
Cliff, from a Wi-Fi standpoint, looking at that type of access out there, any of these pavilions, are there gonna be any buildings or anything, they're gonna be enclosed, secure buildings where that type of equipment can be put? Whether it's an electrical closet on something, those sort of, because if we're gonna put Wi-Fi out there, it's probably gonna be a wireless device in there that will be up on some sort of tower. But we have to be able to protect it, and I was just wondering if that's gonna be available to do that.
Yeah, the restroom has an area you'd be able to do that in. It's got a utility closet in it that is be secured with a lock and door that you can put that in, no problem.
Okay, all right, great.
Very good. Yes, sir.
As long as the Wi-Fi, I guess that's along the fiber line, you guys, Walton County here, you have some great broadband going north and south. But is it gonna be fairly restrictive, and because, you also hear some rumblings that, all the county offices are, I understand, do have some limitations, on the amount of, the allocation of internet use is already tight within the government. I'm an attorney by practice, and I know the judges, have their complaints and everything, and so I was just wondering, is there gonna be enough for multiple people to hook in, and if so, if there's not, how much of a, are you gonna cut off that?
It's tight right now. We don't have, that's one of the reasons we started this project. But once, we get it all laid down, the new system, there's gonna be enough for everybody.
Yeah, what we're doing is they're finishing the project of actually installing the fiber now to all the buildings. Basically, the nerve center is the courthouse, and it will be the bunker once the backup's in there. What they're doing is we're converting offices over as it's getting hooked up and changing profiles to get on different servers. But they are allocating. I mean, right now, we're going from 50 megs of internet that was countywide use to, gigs and gigs of internet. So that's the intention, is to have these parts to where the Wi-Fi will be able to throw out. But when it comes to Wi-Fi, it's really more the equipment on the back end, even with the fiber, on how far it's going to throw. So we're going to limit some of that, but I think distance will be fine. The amount of users, I don't think is going to be an issue. The capacity will certainly be there by that time.
Okay, the only thing I can imagine is getting radar reports of where clouds coming, small craft advisories, if somebody's about to make a launch and go out there, might be some relevant information that the voters want before they take off.
Yeah, I think the capacity will be there, how far the Wi-Fi reaches outside, whether it's a mile radius from the antenna, whatever, that'll be the decision that we'll make as we get to those.
If not any other questions, then I'll look to Commissioner Meadows. Is there any comments you would like to make, suggestions?
No, I just think, like Jamie suggested, we might wanna start getting the, property maps together, or start looking at the boundaries, see what's out there, see what's available, see what the conditions, the environmental conditions are of the land, and what, kind of get an idea about what we wanna do, and that'll make it easier when we start looking at what we're gonna buy, or what we wanna buy. We might wanna buy another piece next to it. So I think that I'd like to see that, is that I start to kind of accumulate the mapping of all those parcels, and then kind of see how it looks.
Commissioner Jones?
I know there's been a lot of discussion about landscaping on the south end, and so we want to get landscaping on the north end as well. We want to, as we go to the approach, and the question is questionable what the approach is. I say the approach is 20 on south, but that might not be so. But we want to do a nice approach to the bridge as well. We might not have, the water, but we can do some kind of landscaping that doesn't take a lot of maintenance. So we want to make it attractive on both sides.
Mr. Jack?
Yes, the landscaping is important, and maybe we ought to look at an option. We know we're gonna have landscaping from South End Bridge to 98. If granted 20 would be nice.
I'm joking.
But,
Not really.
it would be nice, but still, maybe whatever that distance is from South End of the Bridge to 98, be incorporated on the north side to the north end of the bridge, the same distance up to the north towards Freeport. That might balance it out, not that anybody can tell me it's up here, but it might be an option available for DOT to consider.
I don't know whether y'all have in your packets, but we have some suggestions of a number of plantings and that sort of thing that might be used. Of course, as we say, at South End of the Bridge, there is going to be irrigation and that sort of thing, so it's a little different, but I'm always in favor of using Florida native plants and drought tolerant, and of course, in this case, it also have to be saltwater tolerant as well, Commissioner Rendell.
Well, yeah, first of all, I'd like to thank Mr. Coos for hosting this workshop, and thank everybody for coming out today. But I'd like to see Jay work with Mr. Jones in getting the stuff together for what we've already talked about that seems very reasonable to do in the south, and including the areas for the playgrounds for the kids, and additional electric and lighting and kayak launches that we've got there. At the same time, as we approach the concept of trying to acquire the land at the north end, work with Mr. Jones, see that we can put that together in a map that continues to evolve and take shape, so that we can plug in what are the things that we want to do, especially on the north side, that are not already being accommodated on the south side. So please continue to go forward. And again, as Larry said, that we're probably going to have to wait until they're totally done with the bridge and the state-funded part before we can make any modifications, but we can at least be getting those drawings going. Perhaps Cliff can help get this thing funneled into the right direction.
Mr. Davis, Mr. Jones? Yes, sir.
wonder if there's any way that they could relocate that junkyard along 331, or block it off, or do something. I mean, it has to be something, a law about how much oil they can dump, or whatever they do, or whatever on the ground, but that's a nice start. And people coming in all the way from everywhere, coming down here, when they pull up and they go through Freeport, that's what they see. I think it's a shame, but.
Well, you know, and I'm assuming I'm right, but you know what, assuming, that is a state highway. If it was a county highway, we could probably regulate, maybe usage, with our code enforcement. That is a state highway, but it's certainly something we can, and you know, and one thing, I think sometimes whenever you clean up, which is what we're doing, once the road is through and things, then sometimes people are kind of intimidated to start cleaning up because everybody else has. You know, so maybe that theory will work, you know. Yeah, well, it was a thought, you know,
Well,
but you're right.
what I would like to see though is instead of having North Bay and South Bay looking like two different worlds,
Yes, ma'am.
that there's an extremely nice park going in. However, where I see people using the bay is on the north end. And,
Yes.
well, we may do something, we're held up by this and that. I really think the push should be to have it, the whole corridor be worked on and continue to utilize the north end. Because that's where the people have been going, and they don't want to cross the bridge, particularly any weekend in the summer. So that's their option. They want to get their kids to border, they're not gonna cross the bridge and use that one.
And I think I can assure you from everybody's standpoint up here, we agree with you. We just have to be real careful that we stay within the law. Because, we could get our hands slapped or, you know, perhaps end up, you know, in an orange suit. So, yeah. So, I think we're gonna do everything we possibly can to make that happen.
And let me just say that we're getting an awful lot of paddle boarders on the north side, because I live on 4 Mile Creek, and they go in LaGrange, and all in there, and come back out, and they go down the bay, and so they're really beginning to use that. And it's much easier there to launch on that little bay area.
And tourists probably use it as well, don't they?
You probably have a vendor there someday
Yeah.
that rent them out of paddleboard.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the Special Olympics, they work with paddleboarders now, and they meet down south, but I think they're coming there too, where you're talking about, and doing that every once in a while, so yeah, they're
Got
they're
alcohol
really using
free.
it. Yeah, very good.
Is there anyone else who'd like, Jay, you wanna have some parting words as well?
Just thank you for coming out. We appreciate it. You know, we're going to take all these ideas that we got at both meetings and we'll put them together. And as Commissioner Infeld mentioned earlier, you know, I'll get with Larry and we'll kind of keep this information together. And then just as the project moves forward and we can learn more about the funding mechanism, then we'll kind of, you know, flush these ideas out. So just really appreciate everybody's time. Thank you very much.
And on behalf of the board, come up with some new ideas, please contact any of us. We're here to serve you. So contact us and we'll pass your ideas on. Thank you very much.